All right, so this might scratch a little bit more of a language model itch if anyone still has one. This will be a pretty short talk. I'll be talking about the language model connector that I developed for Pysoarlib. If you're not familiar, Pysoarlib is a Python library for Soar SML and IO that was developed by Aaron and extended recently by Nathan. It's pretty easy to install now. You can just pip install it. If you want the language model connector, you also will need to install LangChain OpenAI. Right now, it's really focused on the OpenAI models, though in the future, hopefully we'll extend to other ones. And you, of course, need to get your own API key. You can also clone it, and so it's in the CIC GitHub repo. And then you can also just pip install it from that location. And it's used in many Soar projects and Soar and past projects like Rosie, and I think other projects as well. And so for IO connectors, there's like time connectors and timer connectors. And I'm hoping Peter developed a database connector that I'm hoping will migrate there in the future as well. But I haven't mentioned that to Peter, so that's but I'll be talking about the language model connector that now exists there. And so for the Soar usage, on the Python side, it's pretty simple. You just need to import the language model connector and then add it to the Soar client. And if you haven't used Pysoarlib, there's a README, so I'd look into more information there. In terms of using it on the output link, you just put language model on the query, a sequence number, which just helps you keep track of which language model query you have, the name of a template that you're using, and I'll go into that shortly, and arguments. And this can be any number of arguments based off your template. And then what you get back on the input link is a language model response that includes your original query, which has the sequence number, as well as the response or multiple responses from the language model, which might just be a string and it might be a source structure, but I'll go into that. I forgot to put here, you can also delete the input link responses by sending a delete LM response with the sequence number, so you can clear up the input link. And so as part of this, I developed a collection of templates and really kind of configurations for templates, because there's kind of multiple parts that are part of the template, but also part of settings. So this includes at the top, it's just the name, but also the example context that you might have, examples that you might want to include, what domain you're in, what type of system prompt do you want to send, if you're including world context, if you want to include history context, like the history of the dialogue that I've had. This isn't an interactive agent. Different types of prompt templates, like one's asking questions or just wanting an input and an output. Whether you want back a JSON, which just gets converted into Soar, or a string, what model you want to use, and what number of results you have. And so a specific example here is for Soar, there's a question mode where you're just basically directly asking the Soar agent questions and just trying to get directly a string response. And you'll see an example of this. So kind of just to see that instantiated, it uses that configuration to send a prompt to the language model that includes a system prompt. This is the succinct one. Example context. This might be an example of a world that you see. An example question and answer, like where is the pot, followed by the actual current world context. This is what the agent would send. And also the instantiated prompt template. So this could be a question that comes from a user, like what's in the fridge. And then finally the response you get back here that the apple is in the fridge. Great, so I'm going to run into an example. And before I start, it's using two different language model templates here. One for goals that are converted directly into desired structures, as John talked about. And so this is handled by his ME agent. And also when there's a question mark at the end, it's doing that just direct Soar answer. So here really we're replacing and circumventing the natural language processing capabilities of the Soar agent and the grounding capabilities, and just wholly relying on the language model to do the parsing and the grounding. And so I start by saying, put the apple in the fridge. And so this, sorry that the text is so small on the left side, but sends a prompt with all that information, and then what's going to get back is a JSON format of the desires, which is converted into Soar. And so the Soar agent can just handle that. So now it's using John's MEA work to go and put the apple into the fridge. Now I'm going to ask it a question. And so it's knows it's a question is the question mark. So it's where is the apple? And this is just directly answered from the language model with the context of the scene that's been given. And it says that the apple's in the fridge. Making sure that you can use informal language like, hey, can you get the potato into the microwave? And so it's very good, like versus like a parser that we built that just handling, kind of informal language. I did speed up the video here just because on my simulator it runs kind of slow. So this is not because the agent runs slow, just the simulator on my machine. And now I think a really cool command to give it is swap them. Swap them is not an action that the agent knows, but the language model is able to create a desire that's putting the potato back into the fridge and the apple into the microwave. Well, it's swapping the positions of the potato and the apple. And so this is, a command that it doesn't know, but the language model is able to create appropriate desires. And then I can ask questions, and I'm including the history of the dialogue here, so I can ask historic questions like, hey, what did you do to the apple? It says, hey, I moved the apple into the microwave. I can ask a question like, where was it before this? And this is just because in the prompt template, and you can see maybe here on the right, that it includes the history of the interactions. So you can say that the apple was in the fridge before. I wish I included this example because Aaron brought it up, but it can handle some of those cases like discard the apple versus discard the can, where we'll end up with generating different destinations, or putting away the apple might generate putting it in the fridge versus putting away the plate might put it in the cabinet. So nuggets. I think a great thing is, unfortunately, we had a lot of projects that started to use language models, but they all had their own language model connector with their own features. But now it's all located in one place and working across different projects, showcasing different use cases, questions and goals. Has a nice JSON to Soar conversion, both when Soar is passing context gets converted into JSON for the language model, and the language model is good at generating JSON, which can convert directly into Soar. We have extendable template configurations and expands the ease of language model use from Soar. And so hopefully there's more use cases and projects upcoming that will use this. But some goals, so we're still missing some functionality that we previously developed, like stars. I would like the agent to be able to configure those templates, like specify what model it wants to use, and maybe even specify, what examples it wants to use. So not have those all configured in a JSON file. And that shouldn't be too hard to do. It just isn't implemented yet. I'd like to add support for LangGraph, so we're using LangGraph in a lot of more projects for something more complicated than just kind of a single template and response usage. There definitely needs to be more kind of examples and documentation for making your own templates. And right now, currently lacks other model support. We have had it some Anthropic models in Claude before, but that's not currently supported with these templates. And at that point, I'll ask for questions.